Hello everyone and welcome to this inaugural report on Monsterpocalypse the miniature game using the contents of both the starter sets. Just to get it out the way straight away, this is not a how to play, this is a learning to play, so there may be mistakes. It is just using the contents of the starter set, so it's one big monster each, as we'll go into properly in a second. They come with 5 minion units each, but usually even if you're just playing a 1 monster per side game, you have up to 15 of those little minion units to spawn, but you don't get enough of them in the starter set. So it might not also represent the average length of a Monsterpocalypse game, but for those of you unfamiliar with it entirely, we'll go over the basics just so it's more watchable. But essentially it's just big monsters who fight in a city. Sorry, I'm Batman angling a little bit there. Who fight in a city and smash buildings, throw buildings at each other, chuck each other into buildings, etc. This whole playing field is going to be littered with just the basic buildings, which is what the starter sets come with, rather than using any of the other buildings you can buy, which are a little bit more complicated because they do different things. And yeah, it's just a slugfest. So we'll go over the anatomy of a card, how that works, and how the dice work, and then get started. So here's an example of how one side of Monsterpocalypse is laid out. You've got your big monster card, you've got your minion unit cards, and if you had any special buildings you would have those as well, but again both sides are just having basic apartment buildings. They're defense 5 and they're high density, which just means you can take more of them than you normally would be able to take above a certain cap of a building type. Units, you spawn them for the cost in their bottom left. They have a defense value, they have a movement speed, sorry, other way around, movement speed, defense value, and then some special rules. There is elite versions and they're marked by stars on their bases. They cost more to summon, 2 as opposed to 1, the G-Tank Elite versus the normal G-Tank. And they usually have better stats, but in general the minion mobs are more for doing things on the map, collecting power, and power represented by red dice, because your monsters need power to do their biggest and strongest attacks, because every attack in this game does 1 damage. But power attacks are usually throws or grapples or body slams, and if you knock people into buildings, you don't just do 1 damage, you do collision damage, you do hazard damage, and stuff like that. Monster cards, HP is along the bottom. Again, speed, defense. Defender X has an icon next to his move, which just means he's highly mobile, so he ignores difficult terrain. Special rules in the top left, and then the 3 attack types. Brawl, which is close range, blast, moderately range, it's only range 3 for him, and then power. The number in the white dice is the number of activation dice you can choose up to the cap, so at most you can put 7 into his Brawl Attack, for instance. The blue number is how many extra boost dice you get just for doing the attack. These are the boost dice. And then again the red dice, you need to use those for power attacks, and you can also boost attacks with them as well, I believe. When they hit that part of their HP bar, you flip them and they become hyper. They usually become stronger because this is them just their last burst effort before dying, and the game is over when one side has no big monsters left. Small game is 1 big monster each, normal size game is 2, large size game is 3. I think that about covers it prior to getting set up. Again, well, one more thing, we have the unit part of the playmat and the monster part. The game always begins with both sides taking a unit turn, where for instance they could spend 2 to summon an elite tank on one of these spawn points. But after the first turn, depending on where you choose to put your dice, you can either take a monster turn, you can take a small unit turn, you can go all in on a monster turn, etc. And these, again, are power, but they're also, you do roll them as well. And I believe there is 3 failures on a white die, 2 on a blue die, and 1 on a red die. So I may have not explained that as clearly as I would like. The game itself is relatively simple. Just got to get the city set up, which we'll do in a second. And, oh, well, actually, we should probably go over the other side as well, since we've looked at Defender X and his tanks. So this is the other monster, the Destroyer side monster, Gargadra. He's a planet eater, so that's lovely. He's got some special rules on his Brawl Attack, Blast Attack, some other special rules up there. I think he's got +1, no, he's got the same amount of HP. And again, there's his Hyper Sight. He comes with the ability to summon a Crawler, which is right next to him over here, and then he has an Elite Belcher and 3 normal Belchers, and again that's similar to the tanks. The Elites are better, but they cost more to summon, and if he's starting on this side, his basic spawn points on the map are the red icons. And just to quickly go over the map as well prior to any buildings getting in the way, if you have a unit sitting on one of these, that becomes a spawner for your side. If you have anyone sitting on these, they generate power at the start of the monster turns. If you have anyone standing on these, they drain power from the enemy monster. And you can also secure buildings, but that's once the buildings are set up. And on that note, let's get that done. So Carnage Corners is set up with both sides ready to play. 6 apartment buildings deployed for each. When you're deploying buildings, whether you have special buildings or not, you go by the green outlines on the building spawns first. All of those have to be filled before you then move to the outer yellow ones. So there's quite a few spaces that aren't used for this, because again it's just using the basics that come with the starter sets. Gargadra has set up there and will be going second, and then we have Defender X up here next to the swimming pool, and he will be going first. But you don't start with a monster turn as previously stated, you start with a unit turn. And a unit turn is broken up into a series of phases, which we'll go into now as we go into what I guess we'll call Battle Round 1. So for a unit turn, your first phase is your spawn phase, where you can choose to spend action dice from your pool, which we start with 10, to spawn however many units we like, although keeping in mind we're limited by what's in the starter set. Then you go into the advancement stage, which is everything that's spawned or all your minions can just do a move. Then they can initiate an attack, assuming they'll have someone in range, but they're not going on turn 1, so that's not that relevant. And then their turn ends with a push phase, where say we had 4 left here unspent, we could just optionally choose to push it all into the monster spawn. So that's how it's going to work. And on that note, we are going to summon basically all the minions. So we're going to start with the 3 basic G-Tanks, so that pushes 3 action dice into the monster pool for next turn. And we're going to spawn 1 there. We're going to spawn 1 right here. And we're going to spawn, actually no, we're not going to spawn that there, we're going to spawn that one right there. And then we're going to spawn this one there. And then we're going to spend 2 to spawn the elite tank. Oop, wrong space, there we are. And we'll put the elite tank here, and then the semi-useless repair truck, which is also cost 1, we'll shove that over, and we'll spawn him here, because he is, now that we're going into the advancement phase, just immediately going to shift onto that, and that means we're going to get 1 power extra for our big robot when he activates in the monster phase, which will be after the first unit turn for the enemy. So when you do a move, you move up to your move value, you can go diagonally once, and monsters can spend additional action dice to shift 1 square if they want. So the G-Tanks move 4, regardless of whether or not they're elite. He's going to go 1, 2, he's going to stay where he is, 1, 2, and now 3 of them are around this building. That means they are securing this building, which will give us extra power. And then he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple as that. And then we're at the end of the unit phase. They're not going to be able to attack because everything's too far away for their range 5. So we're just going to shift. Do we need to shift everything over to the monster? Sure, because we've spawned everything we can spawn anyway. So we'll push all the action dice into the monster turn, and then that's the first turn over for the Defender X side, and we go over to Gargadra. So we're over this side of the table, and it's basically going to be an identical turn for Gargadra's units. They cost the same. The normal Belchers are 1, the elite is 2, and the crawler is also 1. So the crawler is going to spawn, and he is just exactly going to do the same move. He's going to move on to the power. The elite will spawn in front. The Belchers have range, and then we'll spawn him over there, spawn him there, and spawn him over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dice spent. Send all that over to the monster pool. And then for the movement, again, he's just moving there. They are all going to secure this building for a turn, even though the monsters pretty much want to destroy it. And then this Belcher is going to move up here, but no one is going to attack. And we will shift the rest of the dice along. And that jumps us straight into going back to the other side. And because all the power dice are in the monster pool, it has to be a monster turn. So a monster turn is very similar to a unit turn, just instead of a spawn phase, that is when the power phase happens. So you get +1 power dice for every one of these pinkish glowy things you're on, so we have 1, so we're getting 1 power dice in our pool from that. You also get 1 for any buildings you're securing a building if you have 3 units adjacent to it and no enemies. So there we go, that's another 1 for future attacking. And that's basically it. You can also generate 2 power if you destroy a building, and then you might also have some special rules that do that. Defender X, he disrupts enemies that are within 2 spaces of him. He takes away boost dice, which are blue. He's mechanical, which I'm not sure what that means. It looks like that's just a keyword. Maybe some monsters do more or less damage to mechanical. And then he has Safeguard. If you're securing 1 or more buildings when you power up, you gain an additional power die. Glad I read that. There's 1 additional power die. So he only moves 6. So we're going to move him and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Will we destroy a building? It feels like he shouldn't be destroying buildings. It feels like he's a good guy, but at the same time he wants power to fight the big monster, so he'll actually just move there and he'll punch this apartment block building in the face with his Brawl Attack. So you can use up to 7 of his action dice. So we'll just go with 6, and then you get 4 boost dice. We only need to beat defense 5 on a building, so I don't think we need to use anything else beyond that. I know that's famous last words. I also now realise I really should get a dice box for this, because you roll a lot of dice in this game. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because a double hit counts as 2. It's super damage. I'm going to double check you need to equal rather than exceed rather. Alright, I have checked, and equal to or greater is the target to beat for defense. So this apartment building has been destroyed. It is replaced by flaming wreckage, and we get 2 power dice for destroying it, and that's where Defender X's turn is going to end. So he is going to shift 2 power back to the unit along with all this here, so this all goes back, and then it passes over to the first monster turn for Gargadra. So for Gargadra's power phase, he is also securing 1 building and is also sat on 1 power cell. He doesn't have the extra rule though for generating 1 additional power. He has a rule called Demolisher. If he does an attack that results in destroying a building, he gets +1 power on top of the regular. He also moves 6. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I believe he's allowed to destroy a building. I don't think you have to be fully aligned. You have to be fully aligned for some power attacks, but I don't think you need to be for buildings. I'm not 100% sure on that. Again, this is not a how to play, it's a learn to play, so there might be mistakes. By all means, point them out. I'm also not sure if that means he's at danger of dying if we hit this building. But we are going to hit the building with his Brawl Attack. His Brawl Attack has a special rule. Chain reaction, if this attack hits a unit. Oh no, it's not going to hit a unit, it's hitting a building, so that's fine. So we'll go in, he can max out at 8. We'll go in with 7. He gets 4 boost dice as well, and again he just has to beat 5. Oh dear. Yes, definitely going to get a dice box for this game. So many dice to roll. He has more than beaten it easily. So he has destroyed this building. Put that to one side. Get ourselves some flaming rubble. The flaming rubble, if a monster ends its movement inside the flaming rubble, will take 1 damage. So normally he would get 2 power for destroying building, but he gets 3 because of his special rule. And he's going to shunt everything except 2 over to the unit turn. And that's all he's going to do. So we are back over to... Well, that's the thing now. If we come over here real quick, Defender X does have 2 dice. So technically he doesn't need to do a unit turn, but 2 dice isn't a lot, so you probably want to do a unit turn instead of a monster turn. So due to having no more units to spawn, thanks to being limited by the starter sets, we're just going straight into skipping the spawn phase for the unit turn and going into movement. So they can all move 4 and they have range 5. So I think they're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they can shoot the monster. 1, 2, wait. 1, 2, 3. No, it's still going to get him there regardless. He was there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, he's going to go on to here instead. So unfortunately the tank back here isn't going to get over to help, but 1, 2, 3, 4. The repair truck is just going to stay on there. So you can do, there's a very small chance of a basic tank hurting a monster, like its cap is 1-1, but you can do combined attacks if there's multiple people in range, as long as you have action dice to spend. So we have the elite tank and 2 normal tanks that are within 5 of him, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, they're all within range 5. So we're going to spend 3 action dice to initiate a combined attack to try and wound Gargadra which I will double check the rules on and then we'll initiate. Alright, double check the rules. Everyone participating has to be able to put in at least one action die, which I already did, but I pulled back over just to show that that's what will be getting rolled. Their ranged attacks have cap 2, so they're all putting in an additional 1, so that's 6. The cap on the elite is 1 boost dice, the normal tanks get 0. However, the elite tank has Commander G tank, so anyone within 2 spaces of him get +1 boost die when participating in Brawl or Blast attacks. So there's the one for the Commander, and there's the bonus +1 for each of the adjacent tanks. The Commander is the one with the extra orange, and he's the one initiating the attack. So these were dice getting rolled. The number of hits to equal or beat is 8, and I went and got a dice tray. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They did not succeed in doing it. And with that, those dice go into the monster pool because they've been spent. The boost dice go away, and in the push phase, those are coming over so that Defender X has a full turn to do. So now it's a similar situation for the other side, whether or not they activate the monster or units. So there's going to be a unit turn for the Destroyer's side, and they are going to try and get into a position to destroy some tanks, I think, just to remove them, because they can't really see Defender X. So they move 4, and a combined attack would probably be the best bet. So their blast attack is better than their brawl attack. So he will simply move there. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. They move 4, right? Yeah. He's not going to get close enough. You know what? He'll just stay there, and we'll just initiate tank on Belcher action. He'll attack the elite, which is defense 4. He's just a basic little, well, he's an elite Belcher, but still range 5. This attack ignores cover. Oh yeah, you get cover if you're adjacent to your monster or if you're adjacent to a building. I totally forgot that. That's +1 defense. So it's 2 and 2, and the number to beat is 4. And that would be a single 1. So that would be a no. That's fine, because this is a game of monsters punching each other more so than little units, and on that note, they are pushing everything over to their monster as well, and we're right back over to the defenders. It's finally time. The big lads are going to punch each other, generating 2 power, 1 power, and 1 power, in terms of dice I mean, and then Defender X is going to move, so he's going to move 6. Now, I think you can move through rubble, it's just if you end your turn in it, you take damage. So he's going to go 1, because he moved diagonal, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then he's going to spend an action die to move 1 space, which monsters can do. And then they're not lined up, so he can't do a power attack unless he's willing to take some damage. He's going to spend another action die to shift again, which I think there's not a limit of like 1 per action. And he is going to go like that, so he's perfectly aligned with Gargadra. But he's ended a movement inside Flaming Rubble, so he automatically takes 1 damage and goes down to 10. But that does mean he can use up this big bundle of power dice to do a power attack. So I'm going to look into that, make sure it's going to be done right, and we'll see where we can chuck him. So our goal with this power attack is to initiate a throw, which is I think probably the most common power attack you'll see. You can also rampage, swat, charge, something else. But we want to pick up Gargadra and chuck him into this building. So we have to be aligned, which is why we did that, and then you throw him on one of your straight cardinal directions, equal to a total up to the number of power dice you do for the attack. So you have to spend at least 1 to initiate, but we're going to put in 6. So we could throw him 6. 1, 2. We only need to throw him 4, so that's just to help it land. And for a power attack, Defender X can put in 5 white and 4 boost. We're going to do all of that. 5 white, 4 boost. If this doesn't land, I'll be very surprised. Also, good luck picking this all up in one hand. I did it. So we needed to beat 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, well, that was still 7, 8. Sorry, I didn't need to beat 8. We needed to equal or exceed, and we did it barely. So Defender X picks up Gargadra. I can throw him up to 6, and he goes 1, 2, 3. Chucks him there. So the throw itself does 1 damage. Smashing into a building does 1 damage. Ending your turn in burning rubble where a building used to be. Smash. 1 damage. So Gargadra just took 3 in total, I believe. So 1, 2, 3. He's down to 8 health. And that's it for Defender X's activation. I believe since he's already touched into that Flaming Rubble this turn, it doesn't damage him again, but if he was to walk off and walk back on, it would. I think that's how it works. So we are over to the monster turn for the Destroyers. So Gargadra is obviously taking a turn and is mad and wants to smash. I think monsters are allowed to pivot for free. I couldn't see anything at a brief glance about that. So it moves 6, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And we did it that way because if an enemy monster stands on a couple of itty bitty units, they are insta-killed, and each one also gives up 1 power. So, oh sorry, and I've totally forgot his power phase. He's securing 1 building and has 1 power well. And then he is going to do to Defender X what he did to him. He's going to chuck him into that building there. So he only needs to throw him a few spaces, but he's going to invest 5 red dice. And his power attack is up to 7. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 4 boost. And again, the number to beat is 8. I guess that's why these were 2 starter monsters. Their baseline is basically identical. It's very hard to grab these in one hand. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He did exactly enough. Defender X gets chucked into this building for 1 damage. Oh, sorry, 1 damage for the power attack, 1 damage for the collision, and then 1 damage for coming to rest in rubble. So he has also taken 3 damage and goes down 1, 2, 3. He's at 7 health remaining, and Gargadra is going to leave those 3 dice in his monster pool, and we're going to go back over to the good guys technically, and whether or not they take a monster turn or a unit turn. So the defenders are going to take a unit turn. They're going to respawn 1 normal tank and 1 elite, so that's 2 and 1 respectively. And the elite is going to spawn on that spawn point, and the other one is going to spawn there. And then we're going to go into movement. He's staying put. That one is staying put. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And they're all going to do a combined attack coming from the leader into Gargadra. So they're all only going to be able to spend 1 because of what's left in the unit pool. But the G-Tank gets 1 boost die for a ranged attack normally. He gives everyone adjacent plus 1. So that's an additional 3. It's not likely that they're going to get 8, I think. But hey, give it a college try. If they get a bunch of crits or super damage or hyper damage, whatever it calls it in this game. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half of what they needed, so nothing left in the unit pool. That means Defender X will be going next turn, but now it's over to the Destroyers to make the same decision. So despite only having 3 action dice, Gargadra is going to take a turn rather than taking a unit turn. So we're in his power phase. He's generating 2 red dice, 1 for that power cell, 1 for securing that building there, into his pool. For his movement, he's going to stay on the rubble, so it's not going to re-damage him, and he's going to go over here, and he's going to initiate a Brawl Attack on the elite tank. And the reason he's doing that is his Brawl Attack has chain reaction. Everyone adjacent, if it's equal to or less than the defense of his target, they also take 1 damage. In other words, he'll get a quad kill. Well, actually it's everyone adjacent or everyone within 2. If his attack hits a unit, all the units adjacent to the target. Yeah, so mostly he's going to kill 3, not 4, but each one is going to give him 1 power. So he's going to use all 3 of his leftover white dice. His Brawl Attack gives him 4 automatically, and he's going to throw in 2 red because he's going to make a profit of 3 if this works. And the number to beat, which should be pretty easy, is defense. Oh, it's defense 4 on the elite. Yes, defense 4. He has easily done it. So the elite tank and 2 tanks adjacent to him are all smushed, and that generates him 3 more power in his pool. A lot of red dice. That is it for his turn. Defender X is up. Power phase. He's only getting 1. 1 from the repair bot, which does not give him a lot of power in his power well, but he's still going to try and make something happen. He's going to try and do a body slam. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, so he's aligned with Gargadra. He is going to take 1 damage from being in a new pile of rubble, unfortunately. And then he's going to initiate the body slam, which is he picks up the monster and slams it adjacent, and he's going to slam it into that building. So that's 2 power, and then we're going all in. So 5 white and up to 4 boost. That's not a lot because of the lack of red dice, but we'll see what can happen. Number to get is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that was a double. 9, 10. He actually did it. He picked up Gargadra and just pile drivered him into the floor. So that's 1 damage for the power attack succeeding, 1 damage for destroying the building, and 1 damage for ending his turn in the rubble. He's also going to shove everything over to the... well, he doesn't need to. He's got 5. No, he's fine. He might as well hold on to the other 5 white activation dice because of the limitation of not having enough units. So Gargadra took 3 there. So that is actually enough to flip it. 1, 2, 3. So let's have a little look at what changes when he flips. He gains the Annihilator rule. This monster's attacks do super damage. I believe that means to do +1. I'm going to have to double check that. He has 5 HP remaining. He's riled, so when he's damaged, he gets a power die. Oh, been forgetting that. Apologies. Unearthly Rage. While this model is in play, other allied models gain riled, which is the one for generating power, but we're playing 1 monster on 1 monster. His defense went up by 1, and his attacks got stronger. So he's on his hyper side. He is scary. I'll double check what super damage does. I think it is +1 damage, which is perfect timing for him because it's going to be his turn. So unfortunately Gargadra cannot take advantage of all the power dice he's sitting on because he has to take a unit turn. He has nothing left. Nothing to spawn because, again, the limitation of units. I feel like that would change the dynamic as well if we had the minimum number of units required for a game. It's a shame the starter sets come with so few of those. But either way, so we're going to do a unit turn. They can't spawn anything, so it's straight to movement. I guess they're just going to line up and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4. He went 1 diagonal there, I believe. They're all going to do a combined attack on Defender X. Oh, I can't remember if I just said or not. Hyper damage or super damage is indeed +1 damage. So when he does a basic attack that succeeds, Gargadra would do 2 damage instead of 1. On top of anything else like collision damage or rubble damage. If you have multiple things that do super damage, only 1 applies. It only ever does +1 damage. So anyway, they're going to do a ranged blast attack from him because he is the leader and he gives them bonuses. So let's see. That is 4 units. Their ranged attack allows up to 2, so he's going to go all in. They want to damage the robot, so they're all going in for 2. The elite caps off at 2 boost dice. He doesn't give a bonus to everyone else, I don't think. Commander, oh no, he totally does. So, although they normally have a cap of 1 as well, they don't actually have enough blast dice. Alright, well that's what they're doing to Defender X. We'll just go with the number of dice required. I guess I could technically roll some of the red dice just as... no wait, I couldn't because they have different successes on them. This is very hard to hold. Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, they massively did it. Impressive attack, gentlemen. You hit Defender X for 1, which is enough to flip him over to his wounded side. So let's see what changes with him on his wounded side. Disruptor, would that have worked there? Oh, it would have worked on one of them. So he would have rolled 1 less boost die. Even if you took away a success, it still would have been fine. If you roll 2 or more action dice on an attack made by this model, when the attack hits an enemy model, after the attack is resolved, you can move 1 action die from your unit pool to your monster pool. Safeguard, if you're securing 1 or more buildings during the power up phase, you get 1 additional die, which I was forgetting again. Although no, we're not securing anything anymore. His Brawl and Blast go up in terms of boost dice rather than action dice, and his power attack goes up by action dice. Okay. Does it say? I don't think he does hyper or super damage. Oh, I don't think he does. His blast attack gets beat back, which I believe is just like pushing the monster backwards. Oh, he doesn't do the 2 damage though. That could be a deciding factor as we near the end of this game. It is over to the defender's side. Half the dice are in the monster pool, half the dice are in the unit pool. We'll see what they decide to play as. So because of the lack of power dice, it doesn't seem like a good idea to have a monster turn until there's some there to initiate a power attack, because he's not doing 2 damage with his basic attack, so at best he could do 1 and maybe push the monster back. So it's going to be a unit turn, unfortunately. I'm going to spawn back the tanks that are all dead, so that's 2, 1, 1 to get them back. On the plus side, they're in a perfect position to shoot Gargadra in the back. possibly also while still securing, which would be ideal. So this tank is going to move. Might as well make him turn and face, so he's on the power cell. The elite tank will move. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, because they're all still in range of Gargadra, and then these three are securing this building as well for an additional bit of power. So the elite will initiate the attack. All of the little guys are... Oh wait, no, we can't because we've only got one die left for an attack. That would be how much? That would be 1 plus 1 additional blue for the elite tank, and then he gives +1 to the other 3. That's not enough. His defense is 9 on his wounded side. Nope, he's just going to push the remainder die over to his monster. That's all they can do. So with both monsters perfectly aligned, Gargadra is going to try and pick up Defender X and chuck him into this building and that tank to crush it. So he'll be doing a power attack. He wants the power attack to land, so he's going to be putting in 6. He's going to be putting in 4 white dice and keeping 4. So that means, well, he's doing super damage as well. How many boost dice does his his power attack get? 5 on his wounded side. Monsters are scary on their hyper side, not wounded side. Does that look like enough to get 9? No, he's only 8 on his wounded side as well. Why does Defender X suck on his wounded side, or hyper side, compared to Gargadra? It doesn't seem fair. We're going to try and roll this many though. I dropped 1 power die, so we're just going to nab 1 from here and roll it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, yeah, it's been hidden. So this tank is destroyed when Defender X lands on him. This gets destroyed, replaced with rubble, picks him up and just goes boom. Slams him down there, so that's 2 damage because of the super damage. +1 to 3 for colliding with a building, +4 for ending a turn there, which means he's on 1 HP. 1, 2, 3, 4. He is 1 hit away from death. It's all or nothing time. Alright, Defender X, it's time to make a difference. What can you do? Well, power phase, 1, 2 for... Oh wait, plus the extra bonus 1 for defending a building. This building is defended, plus the power there. He's going to just move 1, so he's aligned with Gargadra, and he's going to try and pile him up, or pick him up rather, and chuck him at this building. That seems like the best bet. It occurred to me as well, because it's only a single monster per side game, you can just go all in on all your attacks for the monsters, whereas if you had multiple, you'd probably want to like ration between them, so the dynamic would change quite a bit. But either way, all in, power attack, so that is, he's going to spend 6 white, because it's, again, it feels all or nothing. And then he gets 4 boosts, and 9 is the number to equal or beat. And again, it is hard to hold this many dice and a camera at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, did it easily. So this building gets destroyed, I don't have any other rubble handy. Gargadra gets thrown into it, smack dab right there. So that's only 3 damage in total, because it's 1 for the throw, 1 for the collision, 1 for landing on the rubble that I'll swap in a second. So Gargadra lived 1, 2, 3 on 2 HP left. Can he finish the job and kill Defender X? Let's see. Or the little guys might be able to, come to think of it. So we have the dice tray on hand, because all Gargadra needs to do is hit him successfully, because he will do the 2 flat damage, he only needs to do 1. So he's just going to stay where he is and do his blast attack, which is 5 maximum dice from his spending dice, which I keep forgetting the name of, unit dice, whatever. He only has 4, but that's fine. He gets 5 boost dice, and he's going to throw in the 2 power that he has, plus, plus we would get a power phase because it's a monster turn. He gets 1 from that as well. The number to beat, or equal rather, is 8. If he does, Defender X explodes. It's like EDF when the aliens win. Oh, I think that's enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, that is enough. He just blasts him. Defender X stumbles, falls, explodes, and the destroyers win. So that was a fun trial run for Monsterpocalypse. Again, keep in mind this was not how to play, this was a learning to play. I am sure there was mistakes, and this exists to kind of learn as we go. If you spotted anything, if you're familiar with the game, please do point it out so that going ahead they can be corrected and done properly. Any little tidbits at all of useful information, The dynamic between 1 monster teams is obviously going to be different to 2 monster teams and 3 monster teams. I think the biggest thing that we're not seeing reflected in just using the starter set content, well, one, having custom buildings to do special stuff, like for instance if you have the Statue of Liberty it gives you a buff, and when it gets destroyed it's just a rubble side, so you don't take damage for landing in it, that kind of thing. And being limited to 5 units when you're supposed to have up to 15. Like there's a few unit turns there where more could have been spawned in, but just because the starter sets are limited, couldn't, and those could also change the way the game flows as well, and where you choose to spend your action dice, which I kept on calling everything except action dice. It's action dice, boost dice, power dice. I'll remember in time. That is, of course, if you want to see more Monsterpocalypse. Definitely going to have to pick up some unit boxes, I think. Got a couple of big monsters planned that I like the look of. But do let me know what you thought. And again, anything with the rules, better to get it proper at the start. Please do show your support if you want to see more though. And thanks for watching. Ta for now.